We want to have these closer relationships. The more you have to say, oh, well, I didn't do that when I was young, and you kids are so dumb. When you start doing more and more divides, that's exactly what starts fucking happening in your house. More division. Welcome back to the channel, folks. It is Valentine's Day. Is that how you do it? Happy Valentine's Day. My fingers get all weird when I try to do that. I'm not one of those people who just automatically can pop those up. Like, it's, you know, some people can throw signs. Like, that's not me. This is the best sign that I got. Or even this side, right? This is my best sign. Those are my two bests. This and this. That's it. That's all I got. Anywho, I'm excited to talk about Valentine's. It actually comes at a very great time of the month as far as my video series is going, because at this point I'm going to start turning it over, the subject matter, now that we've talked about some personal development stuff, a few business things, and I'm going to get back to a lot more business things as we go through. But we're going to shift it a little and talk a little bit more about relationship things, how that connects to our emotions, and even, you know, the self-awareness things that we've talked about, and the personal development things that we've covered thus far. So I'm kind of excited to jump in with my little spin on what love in the 21st century is looking like. Let's jump in. Now, if there is one thing that I can say about love in the 21st century, if I were to try and sum it up in one sentence or sentence and a half, it would be this: stop carrying your relationship baggage and stop passing it on to your kids. That can be kind of a loaded gun right there, but I really want to keep it simple on just having an outsider's point of view in relationships that you might be in those who you love might be in, maybe your adult children or your teenage children, or maybe you are in a long-term relationship, or maybe you're getting back into, you know, the dating world. There really is a lot of generational biases or ideals that, especially those who are in my age group, which are most of you who are following me, right? I'm in my early 40s. You know, the Gen Xers, we're the latter part of the Gen Xers, born in the late 70s, early 80s. There's a bit of a generational ideal that we have about what relationships are. But what I realized as I've taken steps back, and of course, as my lovely daughters have kindly pointed them out to me as they were growing up, I really started to realize that a lot of behaviors that I believed were love were actually quite toxic behaviors. I mean, like, it's kind of scary. It's actually a miracle. It's a miracle that my children have turned out as well adjusted as they are, as far as that is concerned. You know, maybe they just saw examples that they just knew in their heart wasn't right, and so they just did the other thing. So I'm not here to talk to you about this as an expert, as someone who exemplifies this every day. I'm actually more here to talk to you as someone who's done a lot of things wrong and continues to have to learn to refine my love game and really be mindful of how I am in my relationship, with not only romantic relationships like I have with my husband, but even with my children and coworkers. But what I really want to talk about is how this is a little different and shifted in this 21st century. We're already 2 decades in to the 21st century, guys. Like, have we learned anything? Have we gotten better? I, for one, am very excited to see this Generation Z get older, right? And I feel like maybe because of where I am in the Gen Xers generation, you know, at the tail end of it, I'm in this really great spot where I had rotary phones when I was young, but I also was part of the first group to get cell phones, right? I kind of straddle this part of the old life and like what's new, right? So I've been able to embrace it in that way. And when I look at relationships, one of the biggest things that I see that is very different is in relationships for my age and above, there's a lot of hiding, secrecy, shame. We don't talk about that, right? Versus now, I see a lot of these Gen Zers, or even, you know, the latter part of the millennials, which are like my daughters, like the late 90s. I see a lot of them starting to be more transparent in their relationships. Maybe this is part of the women's movement too, where everyone's just more standing in their place and their authenticity and their independence in order to have what they know they deserve. But whatever it is really important that It plays into relationships. All right, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about, there's really only two that I really want to mention. These are just examples that I want to get the wheels turning on in your head about how you might look at things, and how maybe if I can ask you to leave a door open for other possibilities, right? Other considerations on how you can view certain situations. So the first one is kind of a really light situation where it's like a young boy or girl, right? Like young, like maybe even preschool, kindergarten, first grade, right? When they might have like a boyfriend or girlfriend at school. At home, it's like, oh, Susie's got a boyfriend, right? Or, Kent's got a girlfriend, or whatever. The parents and even siblings and aunts and uncles might get into it and kind of tease them, and they get all embarrassed, right, about it. But once Susie and Kent turn like 11, 12, 13, and they're hitting preteens and they're getting into middle school, and their actual sexual interests start to awaken, and they maybe pursue having a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? They pursue these things. And now all of a sudden, mom and dad is like, stop, nope, not doing that. What is that? Okay. What I have seen that to be is simply fear, right? I understand that a child who's 10, 11, 12, they don't have the capacity of understanding really what a sexual and a romantic relationship is about. All they know is like, I got hairs coming out down there and over here, and I'm smelling, but I see other kids and I get a little aroused, all these things happening. Does anybody ever want to go back to middle school? Like, I would go back to elementary and I would go back to high school. I would not go back to middle school. It was just like the most awkward period. And it's also like, I still see it. It's classic, and it's across all the lines. I still see my nephews and nieces and just younger kids who are in that age bracket where they're in middle school. I love talking to them because they're just kind of great to tease and have fun with. But you just see that awkwardness in them, right? And parents just kind of kill it by saying, nope, you can't do this, you can't do that. And, definitely not dating, definitely not going to have social media, definitely not going to be in the room alone with your phone. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't agree with those things, but are we creating the right environment for our kids to understand what sex and, healthy arousal and all those kind of things, or how all of that plays into life, right? It's on us to teach them that. But if we weren't taught that, because we come from a generation where, we don't talk about that, how the hell are we going to know what to do? This is the door that I'm asking you to leave open, to have considerations and not be weird about it, because the things, especially as a parent, that you are weirded out about, your children will be weird out about it, right? And if I have any say in it, if Shan has any type of influence over what you folks believe, I want it to be this. When you're raising your children, don't look at them as they are. Think of them as who they will be. I think it was Usher. I watched him in an interview once, and I stuck with this. Like, I remember my kids, they were like all under 8 years old at that time. But I remember him saying something along the lines of, I'm not raising kids, I'm raising future adults. I'm not raising kids, I'm raising future adults. And me hearing that at that time, in my point in my life where I was like at the highest stress levels, because I was just raising, 4 kids under the age of 10, 4 girls. It was a lot, right? And when I heard that, it really shifted my viewpoint, because what I realized was that, yes, they have to be kids, they have to go through these whole things, but why am I not training them for being adults right now? I mean, obviously they're not going to go get a job and support the family. That's not what I'm saying. But why are we hiding from subject matter that they're eventually going to learn? Right? That they're eventually going to have to do. Why don't I just guide them, get out of my own way, strip away my own fears, take away all my own embarrassments that were put onto me maybe by my parents, and really just kind of be in that moment for my children to have a space where they can freely talk about it and not feel weirded out about one of the most natural things, right? Sex. And so when we're talking about love in the 21st century, I see more of that happening, right? More transparency. I don't think that the parents have fully gotten it yet. I mean, I don't think we're there yet. That's why I'm kind of hoping to be at the forefront of this discussion, right? The more transparent you are about the reality of life and what's happening, especially as it pertains to your kids, as they grow up and they start to find out the truths of what life is like, they will respect you more, because not only will you have prepared them, they will see that you were telling the truth. If you tell them, oh yeah, Santa's real, then all of a sudden he's not, Yeah, they're going to be upset with you for a little while, but as an adult, they'll be like, wow, my mom betrayed me on that. What else did she betray me on? Right? What else was she not telling me the full truth on? And then they get to be adults, and that's why they're not well-adjusted adults, because like all these things that they were kind of either lied to about, or, you know, the whole truth was hidden from them, then as adults, they're not well-adjusted, because they're trying to deal with life as it's coming, but they're also trying to quantify, why the fuck didn't my parents just tell me how it is, right? Here's the thing. I know why a lot of people don't want to think about this, especially when we're talking about sex. And guys, I already feel like I'm going off on a tangent, but it ties together, I promise, okay? I mean, who wants to think about their parents having sex? I don't. You don't. And of course, because of that, it makes us uncomfortable, and therefore we forget who they are. They are human beings who are sexual beings they have their own arousal, just like these young kids, right? We all are humans, and we have these emotions and these feelings and these hormones, right? They're all real, but it's like in the middle schoolers or in the old adults, grandparents, like those two kind of get vilified as like, oh no, we don't talk about that in there. And everyone else in their prime, just like everybody's freaking screwing each other like nothing, right? Everybody is the same thing. And when you can get to that at an earlier stage in life and understand that that's just part of who we are and what we do as human beings, it really makes for your self-adjustment as you move into having your own children or just developing relationships. It makes it so much easier because there's less bias and judgment to those who you're dealing with. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about is just kind of simply leaving things unspoken, right? I really feel like this 21st century Gen Z, they're showing up and they're calling it as it is, right? And I'll just say, for my generation, if a kid just comes up and tells me like it is, there's a bit of me that gets really irked, right? Really irritated. Like, who do you think you are, kid? Don't you know who I am? I'm your elder. Respect me, right? There's kind of that immediate, like, I'm older than you, so respect me. And that comes from my generation, and even more and more if the further back you go, right? I get it. But what I'm saying, what this generation I see respects is transparency and openness and authenticity. Kids are the purest form of human being, right? They can see shit when it's happening, even though adults are like, yeah, no, this is not happening. This is not happening. They see it, right? And so when things are left unspoken, it can really make for tough relationships. And this is especially true around expectations that parents have. If we're just talking about parents and children, right? And let's say we're talking about the subject of dating, right? Well, parents will be like, well, they should know that they can't be dating. They should know, huh? They should know. Do they know because you told them? And what did you tell them? Did you tell them no dating until you're 16, until you're 18, until you move out, till you're getting ready to get married? Like, what specifically did you tell them? Or have you not really had a real conversation about it? Because they should know. They should know is one of the most irritating things I hear parents say, right? Now, if you've literally taken the time to sit down, talk with your kids, lay out the law of the land, give them an opportunity to ask questions so that they fully understand the laws of the land and respond to those things, then I feel okay with you saying things like, well, I've had this discussion with them, and so therefore they should know, right? I can tell you, like, probably 95% of y'all ain't doing that, right? There's just a lot of assumptions going on. We're assuming that they're old enough, they're teenagers, they're almost 17, 16, they should know. You know what? No, they shouldn't know. It's on you to make sure that they know. And it's on you to make sure that they understand. Not only that they know, but that they understand it. And if you don't take the time to do that because you're embarrassed or it makes you uncomfortable or whatever, blah, 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 I don't feel sorry for you. You're the parent. That's your job, right? You definitely need to step in and be like, hey, here's where we are. And not only here's the rules, here is why the rules are. Now, I know from my generation and back, we just laid the rules, the laws were laid down for us, and that's it, right? And you didn't question any of it, because if you did, boom, you were like, you don't question authority, right? So I get that. But the change, the shift that I see with love, especially with parents, and talking about dating with their kids, is that a child will understand what you're saying, especially a teen. They will understand and follow what you're saying. They are more likely to do that if you not only tell them what it is, but you tell them why a rule is what it is and why you chose for it to be a rule in your house. Because you have to let them know that if they talk to their friend, that their friend might have a completely different rule. But in the house that we live in, here's what our rules are, right? You got to give them the whole picture of the whole context, because when they do, they're like, okay, I get it. That's right. Because my friend Jackie was saying that they're able to do all these things, right? And when I tell my kids that different houses have different rules, it makes it easier for them to understand and accept my rules, because they understand that not every kid is different, right? When you don't clarify that for your kid, they're just like, well, Jackie does it, Matt does it. Well, like, why isn't that okay here? Well, you know what? Because this is what our belief system is, or whatever. But when you explain things and you give them the whole context of why, who, where, what, all that stuff, it will be more palatable. Will they always like it? No, but they don't have to like you, dude. Like, they don't have to like you, but you are thinking about the different things for the future. As you get to know me a little more, as you see more and more videos over the coming months, you will start to see that I took a very, very different approach when I raised my kids. A lot of what I share today is kind of on the verge of what I talk about in my book, and how I just took the approach that was most beneficial for my kid, which meant that a lot of times I was in a state of being very, very uncomfortable, right? Whatever, I've been uncomfortable already, but this is for the benefit of my kids. And if any of you parents out there, especially you moms, if any of you moms out there can relate to the fact of knowing that temporary moments of being uncomfortable pays dividends in an independent child going out to be independent, on their own, and you not have to worry about them, you get me. I mean, that you are my people. And if you're not my people, come be my people. Let me teach you how, right? That is what this is about. It really is a different vibe happening in the 21st century as far as love is concerned. So it is on us Gen Xers and older to not only embrace it, but to at least try. Give it a try, folks. At least try to understand it, because the more you understand it, the closer you can draw to your children. Isn't that the goal? Isn't that the goal? We want to have these closer relationships. The more you have to say, oh, well, I didn't do that when I was young, and you kids are so dumb. When you start doing more and more divides, that's exactly what starts fucking happening in your house. More division. We need to have more understanding, and that is what the thought is for this Valentine's Day. More understanding as we move into sharing more love on this day of love for those who we love the most. That literally was all ad-libbed. That was not even planned. And what it comes down to is a decision for you. Is it a bandwagon you want to get on or not, right? If you don't want to get on, you might get left behind. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're bad for not wanting to get on this 21st century new way of looking at love and relationships with parents, kids. That's up for you to decide. You choose what it is. You are not better or worse depending on what you choose. All right. You just have to decide whether or not you want to be able to understand your children or just people who live in this 21st century and how we deal with relationships, particularly love. So for now, guys, I will see you on the other side. And until then, keep evolving. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.